your back and neck straight and very gently close your eyes. Just start observing your breathing. Allow the natural flow of the breath to just be. And simply observe. Make sure that you are correctly aligned. And slowly begin to deepen the breathing. Go for slow, long, and deep inhalations. Once you inhale fully, hold the breath for just 2 seconds. And then go into the process of exhalation. Slow, long, and deep exhalations. After inhaling, just retain the breath for 2 seconds inside and then go into the process of exhalation. Take this time to relax your mind. And prepare yourself for Om chanting. You will chant Om 3 times, followed by 3 Shantis. Inhale deeply for Om. 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 Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Just feel the vibrations of the chanting. Join your palms together and rub your palms together. Keep them on the eyes. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at your palms, begin to open up your eyes. Start coming back with a smile. And Namaste to everyone. Let us begin today's session. So yesterday we completed Bhakti Yoga, right? And today we are going to begin with the next school of yoga, which is Gyan Yoga. Okay. Path of wisdom. Gyan Yoga. So the last two topics that we have covered, the path of action and the path of devotion. These two, like I told you, they are very easy to incorporate in life, and anybody can begin their journey with these two paths, right? But Gyan Yoga is slightly advanced. It's not that you won't be able to begin, it's more like it's harder to stick to, right? So a lot of people who enter Gyan Yoga, they leave Gyan Yoga, right? Because it is the when you read something and you face some reality, a lot of people are unable to accept those realities, right? So they end up leaving the path. So this path requires a very strong willpower, right? And you don't know what kind of truths you will get exposed to. So you cannot pre-prepare, right? When you are getting exposed to those truths, that is when you either begin to accept them, right? Or a lot of people they choose to leave the path altogether because it's very very heavy, hence little bit practice in karma and bhakti yoga will definitely help someone come into the practices of gyan yoga. Another thing, generally, the gyan yogis, they are born, right? They have already accumulated a lot of past merit, right? Which helps them to face the realities and stick to the truth despite it being very harsh, right? So when we talk of the word gyan, this means wisdom. Okay, in some places you will see the term knowledge also being used, but that term knowledge is actually used in the form of wisdom only, right? So knowledge which you gain out of your own experience, right? That intuitive knowledge is what the path of Gyan Yoga is. It's not merely reading up books and just okay, this is a truth of life or this is the truth of life. No, it's more about the realization, like when you do something, or when maybe you attend any of your classes and you have that aha moment, right? So maybe the person is saying the same thing again and again in different ways. But for you, that thing resonated the most, and you could comprehend how it fit well into your own life, right? And then you have a realization about your life, right? So that realization is what the Gyan Yogi aims for, not merely reading the books or merely going into debates and discussions, right? That will be like, that can be seen as a modern version, right? But that's just the beginning or the tip of the iceberg. So, like yesterday, also in Bhakti Yoga, I told you, some mechanical practices are done for initial level student, right? So in Gyan Yoga, these are the initial level practices where they read the books which contain the truth, right? But some people just choose to get stuck there. Okay, so they will keep debating, this is right, this is wrong, right? But the entire point of Gyan Yoga is not proving something right or wrong which is written. It's actually experiencing it yourself and seeing if what is written is right or wrong, right? Like if you read your books or manuals, you will see the asana practices are given, right? So all the instructions are given. So you will be like, okay, let me do it in this way. And then you actually begin to do it and you realize maybe this thing is not suitable for you, bending this way or giving this kind of stretch is not suitable for you. So you eliminate that thing. You there is one thing that the theoretical knowledge is given, it is written, and then when you practice it you realize that something is better, something else is better for you, some other way is better for you. So Gyan Yoga is all about this. In the beginning, the person attempts to, change their environment through reading such books. Now I can give this entire time to reading Harry Potter or some fiction books, right? But I'm choosing to devote that time to something else. So reading up is mostly just changing the direction of your attention. But eventually, those realities are just not for you in the book, right? If you experience it, it's true for you. If you don't, then it's not true for you. You can say that it is false for you, right? There is nobody is going to come and say that, oh, why are you going against this? It's your experience that counts, and no path of you will ever deny your experience, right? All of us watch the same movie, but we had different interpretations. So yoga is also something like that. The same things are given to you, right? But everybody interprets it differently. Everybody starts their journey differently and walks on their path in their own unique way, right? There's certain checkpoints that will come for everybody. But the thing is that we have to embrace our own uniqueness when we do that thing, right? So in Gyan Yoga, this path very strongly believes that the cause of suffering is ignorance. Okay. It's called avidya. Avidya. And the only solution that this path says, the only solution is vivek or discrimination. This is the solution as per the entire philosophy of Gyan Yoga. As you practice more and more, it is this discrimination that you develop. right? Like I gave you that example, you're trying to copy something. Even if you're trying to copy the asanas, maybe your teacher is doing the full asana and you're trying to copy them, right? So you cannot immediately copy them, right? Because maybe your flexibility in that area is not too much, right? Some of you will be able to immediately copy them, but most of us are not, right? So what we do is we try to adjust our body, right? It should look like that, it should look a little bit like that, maybe the twist should come a little bit more, right? So what we are doing, we are adjusting, we are seeing how our body can move to come to the same depiction, right, of the body posture, right? So in that process, what are you learning about yourself? Okay, maybe you have to improve the twisting, or maybe you have to improve the bending, and then you're also um, understanding how you can do that, right? And little by little, when you keep holding, you will see your body begins to open up a little bit more, right? And then another thing comes in, where you are not in touch with yourself. So sometimes, what you will do, you will immediately want to copy. It's very fascinating, when teachers do asanas, right? And you guys also want to do those asanas. So when you are not in touch, you will end up injuring yourself, right? So you guys have to be very careful when you are copying also. Nobody For copying also, some intelligence is required. You just cannot copy like that, right? So you gain an understanding of your body as you do the asanas also, right? So that is what is being referred to when this discrimination, you develop this discrimination as you perform the task over and over again, right? You understand what your capability is, where you have to reach, what the gap is, and how you're going to bridge that gap, right? So this is the development of discrimination. You are in touch with your own reality over here, that my body cannot do this thing right now, but it is capable of. So the day you miss the point that you are currently somewhere else, that is when people get injury, because they are constantly looking at the final posture. They're not connecting with their own body, right? And the entire point of asana practice is developing that connection with your body, right? So when you are able to see yourself where you are, right, when it comes to an asana, and then you see where you have to go, so you are in touch with your current reality, which is very, very important, right? That is what Gyan Yoga is also saying, that you should be in touch with your own reality. Don't forget your own reality, right? So when you specifically read the texts of Gyan Yoga, there is this mention of illusion also, Maya, Maya, illusion. Now you guys will say, okay, it makes sense. She's saying that we are in ignorance. If we develop discrimination, we will be free from our sufferings. But is it easy to do? No, right? Why? Because of the existence of this illusion or Maya, right? Everything around you, all the people, the way in which they are functioning, you will tend to believe that, okay, I should do this thing in my life, or I should get this thing in my life. It will bring me more happiness, right? But when you do it, you don't realize, you don't get that happiness, right? So why is this happening? Because there is constantly an uh, illusion around you. This illusion is around you, which is trying to capture you, which is trying to make you run after things, right? Run out after things which are external to you. Most of us are caught up in our day-to-day lives only. We are running outside. We're trying to make the outside world according to our vision. Nobody runs inside, you know. Everybody runs outside only, right? So why? Because the grip is so strong. It's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. It's the illusion which keeps us grip. When we acquire something, then we want more of it, or we want an advanced version. Like if iPhone 5 comes out, then that's the main hit thing, and then next 1 or 2 years later iPhone 6 comes out, so you want the upgraded version, no? Right? So constantly everything around you is going to keep you in this trap, be it a phone or something, some other goal that you have in life. It's going to have this grip on you. So this is the illusion. So Gyan Yoga says that the reason why the ignorance is not uh, removed is because the grip of the illusion is too much. Whatever is impermanent, we think it is permanent, right? Now I keep telling you this is impermanent, life is impermanent, but you don't see that thing, right? Because you have not experienced it, right? But when you sit in meditation, you see how your breath consistently changes as your thoughts change. You get a glimpse into it. Okay, this thought, I thought it would be very permanent, but it also went away. Then this thing I was thinking, I thought that this will never be over, right? But then it also goes away. Then some pain comes up, right? Then that also goes away if you sit for a long period of time. So then you begin to experience that, okay, this is impermanent. That leads to an understanding, that leads to the aha moment. That is why I say, guys, don't miss your meditation classes. Miss, I don't want you to miss any classes, but meditation classes will actually, whatever philosophy covers, that is implemented in meditation, right? So entire life everybody will tell you everything is impermanent, but you only get to the experience when you sit in meditation and see it for yourself. After that there is no going back, right? After that, even if somebody mentions this thing, you know the feeling. At least maybe you did not prolong your experience too much, or it did not have a very life changing impact on you, but you get to know the experience, right? Okay, this thing is actually happening. If I give it more time, I will see more of that happen, right? So if you guys want to read more about Gyan Yoga, it's again Bhagavad Gita has covered the all four schools of yoga. So in Bhagavad Gita, you can go for chapter 7. Over here, Lord Krishna, tells Arjun about the entire concept of Gyan Yoga, and that the action should also be done with discrimination. He discusses Karma Yoga in third chapter, but in this chapter he says that even the action that you are doing, it should be done with discrimination, right? If you're constantly putting your energy somewhere which is not going to reap a lot of result, then it will only waste your energy. So the action should also be done with a sense of understanding where you are putting your energy, what the higher goal is when you are doing something, right? And this thing is also very important, that you constantly don't change, right, the path that you have chosen. So a lot of times, when maybe in your meditation also, when you are taught certain topics, you will find that the classes are like very very entertaining, the classes are very dynamic in nature. But once the course ends, like, you have to choose one, right? You don't have to do all of them. So when you begin to do that one meditation that you have chosen, it becomes boring, right? When it becomes boring and you still want to keep your habit of meditation, what you will do, you will change your method, right? This also happens sometimes. A lot of students experience so many types of meditations, right? And then they don't understand why it's not working, right? The thing is that you have to stick to one thing only. If I give 1 week to Anapan, okay, then I start doing chanting the other week, right? So what will happen for Anapan also? The 7 days that I have given, those will become zero the day I start chanting, and the day I leave chanting and come back to Anapan, I will have to start from zero again. Okay, so just this understanding should be there, that you will cancel out your efforts if you keep changing. So that is why yoga is very boring. So everybody doesn't come to you because it is boring, right? You have to stick to one thing over and over again, develop a routine, a habit that you have to, like, you guys wake up, brush your teeth every day. So it's like that kind of routine that you have to develop, right? But if you stick to it, you will definitely see the results. Okay. So when it comes to Gyan Yoga, right? So this deep understanding is there in the Gyan Yogi, that okay, there is this, you know, um, they really believe in the concept of uh, these are terms you will come across. That is why I'm mentioning. So Atman, Atman, right, or your individual soul. So for the Gyan Yogi, that's the only permanent thing. Rest, everything is impermanent, right? They have this recognition that things will come and go, people will come and go, experiences will come and go, but there is this um, energy within you which is going to stay. Even you are going to come and go, right? The body is also an illusion, it's just currently with you, right? But there is something permanent to you as well, your existence as well, right? And that is called Atman, Atman, right? So let's come to the discussion of what are the practices of Gyan, right? So if you feel you are ready, if you are very if your nature is such that you get to know about something, you keep researching about it, right? You go into deep research, you like giving uh, reading that kind of time, then you can try the path of Gyan Yoga, right? Because ultimately you are just changing what you are reading, right? So having that interest in the first place will aid you, right? So uh, there are four pillars of Gyan Yoga. These are called Sadhana Chatushtaya. Sadhana Chatushthaya. Sadhana Chatushtaya, or the four pillars of Gyan Yoga. So, like I told you, all of these paths, they merge into each other only. So, yesterday when we were talking of Bhakti Yoga, right? So, Bhakti Yoga also, you were doing something. So, karma is always involved. You will not go be actionless anywhere, right? If you're practicing Bhakti Yoga or Gyan Yoga, Raj Yoga, you are constantly doing something, right? So, action is a very important part of all the uh, processes, right? Just the starting point is different. Then, if you come to Bhakti Yoga, if you don't believe in that thing, how will you be able to devote your time to it, right? So, Bhakti Yoga is also everywhere, right? It's just the beginning point is different for everyone. Okay, so these four are the pillars of Gyan Yoga, right? So, like it's like a foundation setting, you can say. If somebody is able to do these four practices, right, and they do it over a period of time, they set a very solid foundation for the core practices. So there are deeper practices also, but the basic practices, if one is unable to do, then there is no point of moving to the core practices, right? So these pillars, pillars, they hold, right, the entire place. So these four pillars will help you to acquire that deeper level of knowledge, right? Which can be harsh also, right? So it will help you, right? If the pillars are strong, the building will stand, right? So the stronger you make these pillars when you are practicing Gyan, the more you will be able to acquire during the core practices. So first one is Vivek only. This is a very important Vivek or discrimination. This is the first one. Okay. So, yeah. So the first practice is discrimination itself, right? So development of discrimination is done since the beginning until the end of the practices of Gyan Yoga. So everything is going to only support the discrimination. But for a beginner, it is very important to develop this discrimination. Why? Because it forms the whole basis of walking on the path, right? If one is not able to develop the discrimination, right, then there is no way in which they are able to walk this path, because this discrimination is going to ensure that the ignorance keeps on getting removed, right? And it's a very long process, right? Developing the discrimination, then some little bit ignorance is removed, then again you develop more discrimination, then again little bit more discrimination is removed. So for us, like in life, in different stages we realize different things. So when Gyan Yogi is practicing, so they sit with all of that together, right, and develop that discrimination. They don't take the time like we do, right? They immediately start working on, okay, their entire judgment, as I told you, their entire judgment is going on the basis of, is this permanent or is this impermanent, is this real or is this unreal, right? Entire judgment of everything in their life is going on this basis only. So they constantly develop that discrimination. So whatever, like suppose they are doing something, so they will actually look into that thing, introspect that, is this real, is this unreal, is this, you know I'm not saying overthinking, so this can be easily confused with overthinking, but they are constantly trying to see what a better approach is, more permanent approach is. And what I mean by more permanent is something that removes the suffering. Okay, what kind of approach removes the suffering, right? When one develops this discrimination, then the second thing happens automatically. Vairagya or detachment. Varigya. Okay, so now when you guys also do asanas after this 1 month, you will not realize this thing, but after this 1 month, you will see a lot of changes have come within you. Okay, so now earlier something used to make you very angry. Now maybe you take 2 seconds and then you get that angry. Okay, so what happened throughout this month was you developed discrimination, right? Which reduced your reactiveness. When that reactiveness was reduced, automatically there is a detachment. What is this 2 second pause? It's detachment, right? Suddenly you are detached and then you come back again, right? So only 2 seconds is good enough, right? To begin with, 2 seconds will develop into 10 seconds, minute, 1 minute into 10 minutes, right? But now what will start happening is after this 1 month, you will observe yourself that earlier the things that troubled you a lot, now they are not troubling you that much, and you are thinking, oh, what happened with me, right? Because constantly through the practice of asanas, through your pranayama, whatever you did throughout this month, anatomy, everything, it's going to create a sense of detachment within you, and you will not even realize this, right? So when the discrimination develops, okay, what is the point of being so angry at this thing, right? This discrimination, as soon as it develops, then there is immediate detachment is there, right? There is no pause also. There is no gap. The more you practice, the more you will feel as if you are detached. And I'm not saying cold, okay? So cold person will ignore their feelings and go away, right? But detachment means you are there, you are observing, and you are seeing this gap being created between observing something and then your reaction to it, right? There is a sense of detachment that occurs. Maybe it will happen in the case of food, right? In your Ayurveda therapy classes, you have done so much about food and personality type that maybe the next time you go hang out with your friends and they order a lot of junk food, you kind of don't have that temptation, right? Earlier, you would like look forward to going and eating at a particular place. Now you will see you are fine. That's okay if I don't go also, right? Or when the food comes in front of you, you are not as tempted as you used to be before, right? So that temptation is removed, right? So what is happening? You are getting detached from the things because your discrimination developed, right? You understood deeply that okay, this is going to harm me, or this harms me, or this is not good for me, right? Nobody can tell you don't be angry, you are a very you have anger issues. Somebody will come and tell you, you will get angry at them, right? Do we change when somebody points out a problem to us? We don't. But as you go into these practices, your discrimination develops, which helps you to detach from these things. And that is exactly what you are looking for, right? You don't need somebody to come and give you a moral lecture. This is right, this is wrong. You want to change, right? You understand some things that you're doing, they're not good, or they're not good for you. Leave not good or bad, I don't believe in that. Okay, not good for you. They don't enhance your life. But it's so hard to come out of them, right? As you practice more and more, you will see yourself coming out of them because now you're devoting your energy to the things which are going to help you to come out of them, right? Rather than devoting your energy and time to the things that will encourage you or not work on those things, right? So these two things, happen simultaneously. The more discrimination you develop, the more detachment begins to come in, right? Then you come to the next thing. Then you work towards the development of 6 virtues. Some things they keep you uh, uh, close to your practice, right? So those are the virtues, right? So there are 6 virtues. They're called Shat Sampat. SHAT SAMPAT. 6 virtues. So the first two are helping you to experiment. If I develop some kind of discrimination, will the quality of my life become better? So you get the result, then you see, okay, this is happening. So first two are helping you to yourself experiment Gyan Yoga, right? But the third one, it's helping you to stick to it more closely, right? So when you work on developing these virtues, you see that you are able to keep your practice, right? So this will include Shama, SHAMA, which means controlling the mind. Okay, so I'll write all 6 down. I think we'll discuss them tomorrow only. Then second one is Dhamma, DAMA, controlling the senses. Bharti, Diksha. Wait. Third one. Yes. Withdrawing the senses. Then third one is Uparti, UPARTI, withdrawing the senses. Then fourth one is Titiksha or tolerance. TITIKSHA, Titiksha. Then fifth one is Shraddha, SHRADDHA, Shraddha or faith. And the sixth one is Mumukchutva, MUMUKCHUTVA. So these are the 6 virtues. We will discuss them in depth tomorrow. Okay. But the development of these virtues will help you greatly. Even if I think, even if nothing else, these 6 virtues, for any practice, they are going to help you. Right. So, any doubts in today's class? Anything you did not understand, or any questions? No? All right. So let's end today's session then. Keep your back and neck straight and very gently close your eyes. And just observe your breathing. We'll be chanting Om one time, followed by 3 Shantis. Inhale deeply for Om. Shanti. 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 Join your palms together and just bow down. We take a few moments in our day to feel gratitude for everything we have. Wrap your palms together. Keep them on the eyes. And very slowly, while blinking and looking at your palms, begin to open up your eyes. Start coming back with a smile. Namaste to everyone. Guys, we have started the topic of Gyan Yoga. So today what you guys can do is go and write in your diary, reflect. Okay. Reflection is a very important part of Gyan Yoga. So reflect about whatever you want to reflect about. You can reflect about your day or something that has been on your mind or something that you really want to address, right? But you have to write it down. Okay, so don't just reflect sitting and thinking. You guys write it down somewhere. And when you write it down, then I think it will seem much more tangible for you. So since we have started with this topic, then I think it's a very good practice for you to do to introspect and reflect a little bit. And if you want to experience bhakti yoga, right? So you should definitely go for some kirtan, right? You should go and dance, right? Go to some kirtan, right? Go and just sing over there as they are chanting and dance. So you will get a glimpse into your bhakti yoga as well, right? And for karma yoga, I would say whatever cause you believe in, you guys can go and volunteer for that, right? And do that work with full concentration. So karma yoga, if you guys want to experience, of course it's better to go to some ashram and do it, but for us right now we can at least go and volunteer for some cause that we believe in, so that will give you a glimpse into what karma yoga is going to look like. And bhakti yoga I told you, and gyan yoga, today you practice for gyan yoga, the reflection, because it's something you guys can do, right, sitting at home, right? So take care, guys. I'm going to see you for a pranayam class in the afternoon. So bye bye. Bye bye.